What's up, everyone? It is me, Albert. This is Interactive Artistry, and this is episode 132. And I am joined by the impossible to actually encapsulate literally how talented dude. This is, you can hear him. I'm going to hand it to him soon, but I like to talk up the immensely far more talented than I folks that I speak to on this show on the reg. He has made some incredible, wonderful ZBrush, all kinds of amazing magical programs that this wizard of artisanry uses. It's going to be great. We're going to dive into his process, into his thoughts on the industry and art forms, etc. We were actually jumping into that just before in the pre-show, but without further ado, Daniel Enrique de Leon.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Nice to be here, Albert. Thank you for having me.
Daniel, how the heck have you been? I'm gonna just like shut my trap now. I want you to just go into how your day's been. Go for it, my friend.
My day has been like we were talking about, peaceful but busy at the same time.
Yeah.
I guess I'm either, however you look at it, I'm either privileged or yeah, I guess you could say lucky to work from home. I definitely feel like it's a blessing, but it can be stressful.
Yeah.
Like we were saying, it's the artist life, especially more than ever. I think most artists, the vast majority, are freelance. Whether you're a professional or you're an amateur, that line is getting blurred a bit, only because so many of us work from home. And I think while the work can reflect different qualities of your expertise, a lot of the lifestyle can be very similar. You know, it's living in LA is very competitive. You have a lot of other very talented people, extremely talented, the best in the world, I would say, some of the best in the world. You know, and I think they're spattered throughout the whole planet, but talent-wise. But we have an immense collection of extremely gifted people and skilled people here in LA. Of course, because that's where so much of the entertainment industry is still rooted in. Although taxes and whatnot, I think, are starting to, and incentives from other countries and other states are definitely pulling out that talent as far as you know, the business side of things.
So you have the at-home kind of on competition, and then obviously the global competition. So you're fighting two wars essentially at all times.
Yeah, definitely, and that's where, in a lot of ways too, I think you have to be very cunning. You have to be very wise and very much abreast of what is new in the industry, what's not just what's trending, but actually what is next, I guess you could say. And that can be hard work, that can be a lot of research, that can also be somewhat dumb luck. You know, it can be any combination of those. I feel like my life has been a mixture of those for sure, but I would hope less dumb luck and more intentional hard work.
Spoken like a true, and I get it a bit eye rolly, but in a loving way, eye rolly with the people who are like as talented yet as simultaneously humble as folks like you are. How they're a little bit just sort of playing down their talents, and I'm not gonna like argue with you about the competition, but I won't sit here, Daniele, on this show and have you assert that you are anywhere near like not as talented as like the vast like I did some research around sort of what you do, and I mean, you're leading the pack to me. You seriously are. Like, it's just phenomenal what you do, and I'll be actually, you know, we'll go through a couple of your works later in the episode and get folks to jump onto all your different channels and just investigate some of the amazing pieces that you bring into the world. And it's of particular resonance for me because, you know, I tie video games so much to what we experience in the real world, you know. I consider video games to be the closest to like life itself in terms of the art forms, because unlike all the others, games require your active participation. They are actually it's tied into the human experience that little bit more. So when you bring things particularly from that world into the real world, the way you literally do with your craft, is just, it's like dream come true kind of material. And as soon as I saw that trico, which you'll see now, listeners, in the thumbnail, it's I mean, Albert had a moment. Albert had a moment, all right? So we could dive straight into that one if you want, Matt, or you can tell us what you've been working on most recently.
Sure. Well, wait, it's up to you. So usually, as in, which kind of is the case right now, I guess, almost everything I work on, if it's for a client, is usually under NDA, with the exception of, I guess, something recently that dropped, I can talk about quickly.
Okay.
I was... a colleague of mine, a fellow 3D artist, Ayman Akhtar. He's also a fellow 3D printing guy and generalist, 3D generalist.
Hmm.
And
Oh, I
he
love that. I
contacted me
love that
recently.
title. It's like this
3D
person
generalist.
could do anything that you can imagine, anything that general could cover. You know, that's fantastic.
Yeah. A lot of us fall in that category. Like I said,
Mm,
it's competitive.
yeah, for
But
sure.
he recently contacted me, as he does for time to time,
Yeah.
to work with him on a rush job. That it was a collaboration between BuzzFeed and DreamWorks Pictures for
Oh
the
wow,
upcoming How to Train Your Dragon film,
that's
the
awesome.
third one. They ran a contest for children to design their own dragons, and I guess they had to submit a video talking about their dream dragon. And anyway, long story short, these three kids won, two boys and a girl, and I was lucky enough to work on what is arguably the cutest one of the three, very
Oh,
owl-esque a little guy. I'll be
beautiful.
actually posting some stuff to Instagram about that here shortly. I've just been so busy since finishing this Trico model that you were referring to.
Yeah.
It's just been I had to hit the ground running when I came back from.
That wouldn't
It
at
was
all be a an exclusive, even if it's a small one, because I know
yeah.
you're planning on posting it. But are you saying that that's the sort of first mention you've given? You've probably mentioned it elsewhere, actually. I'm sure. You know
Of
that
what, Trico
of
or
the How to Train Your Dragon.
no, I haven't actually. So I guess you're the first one
What?
for me to talk to about it. Yeah,
I
I
am
mean, the
super
video is out.
honored. I'm extremely honored. I love those
Yeah,
films, and
yeah, me
wow.
too.
If you, as if you could get any more kindred, my term that I use, I hope I'm
Mm,
using like I just sort of made it my own sort of thing. I know kindred, it just like I only use that word very much just for the people who are like, wait a minute, this person like from one thing to the next, they just keep doing things that are like right after my own heart, and
mm.
like that whole story. I mean, it's you can even use your mind's eye like the dynamic between the boy and Trico is very much
Very
that sort
much.
of Atreyu Falcor and then also
Mm,
Hiccup and Toothless, you know?
yep. Yeah.
For sure.
No, I mean that's I think why we share the same mind. I think as many people who love The Last Guardian or any of these other brands. You know, I mean, you can name
Yeah.
off the top of your head. I think Fumito Ueda himself, I think, has mentioned that The Last Guardian is inspired deeply by his love for E.T. and the
Yeah.
Iron Giant, which are the same as How to Train a Dragon. Those three are direct parallels to the story of The Last Guardian. But I would argue that The Last Guardian probably has the most mature and realistic feeling, look of characters and story and everything. ET is, of course, very realistic too. Of course, it's extremely realistic. But
Yeah.
as far as A Boy and His Dog, I would say this is probably the most mature portrayal of that story in a fantasy setting. Um,
I would have to agree wholeheartedly, and I think I've spoken elsewhere and on previous shows about how The Last Guardian for me, and this isn't like smoke blowing for your sake. It's been the case for the past almost half a decade of my life, really, that I've long considered it, and that it was even redoubled or tripled when I played it finally. That it's my most kindred, like just creative expression of any kind from any medium. So I even put
mm,
it kind of even beyond games, really, because it's just
mm,
across the board, and that's huge for me because like I'm a big Star Wars guy, I'm a big Lord of the Rings guy, but those are the tops
mm,
in their respective fields, literature and film.
mm,
But for me, Last Guardian goes number one of just everything. So
yeah.
yeah, dude. And actually, because you were saying such wonderful, rich, and worthwhile things in the pre-show about uh, uh, you know, uh, you know, Hollywood's and also game industries to an extent.
Mm,
Games industry a little bit less. I see a lot more risks being taken, but yeah, risk aversion, and I just was like, that's really worthwhile. What you were discussing. So using like I
sure.
suppose Last Guardian obviously is built on the traditions of like Falco Atreyu and even a bit of like Clifford the Big Red Dog,
Hmm.
by and
Hmm.
large Fumito is very much like a bastion of unique non-Marvel, non sort of extremely well established and well ingrained and quote unquote safe property kind of creative
Mm,
risk taking. So are there any other
yeah.
figures who stand as like bastions for that, and what are your thoughts on that status quo?
Oh man, well, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess just for the sake of the listeners, I'll recount a little bit of what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
Just
thank
again,
you.
obviously personal opinion, but I'm 36, so I was born in '82. Grew up in I feel what is arguably one of the best several decades of artistry's growth as is in the modern Western world. Considering filmmaking, which is also so much diversity of thought and
Yes.
creativity and expression. during the 80s and 90s, where I think finally
Absolutely.
technology from the high end, meaning stuff that was not accessible to you or I at that point, as far as the average consumer who
Mm.
wasn't a millionaire or well endowed with money. We didn't have access to that kind of stuff. Now I think there's a democratization of technology, which is becoming more prevalent, which I'll talk about in a little bit later. But we saw in the 80s and 90s just immense innovation in storytelling and filmmaking that we just don't see much today, simply because
Absolutely.
of risk aversion. It is show business, right? Show
Mm.
business. So there's an inherent dollar value attached to everything that is created, that's put on the silver screen. Not to mention then, of course, deep um, political roots and connections throughout Hollywood as well, in
Yeah.
all directions. So there's a lot of chess to be played in this industry, I think. And then, of course, there are outliers or people who fly under the radar and then burst to the surface with something amazing now and then too. But I think that often is done from a almost entirely done from a more independent filmmaking state and not
Mm.
from major studios. I think it's extremely rare nowadays, meaning from I would say from 2000 to now, so the last 18 years, over a decade, almost 2 decades now.
Goodness me. Yeah.
I would say that there's just a lot less immense innovation, like the leaps we saw during for some of my favorite films. I'll put it this way, I guess. Um, with the exception of one, the top three I pick are Jurassic Park, The Matrix, and Interstellar, as being to me they each should have won Best Picture of the Year simply because when it comes to Oscars, and again that's a
Yeah.
whole other thing.
Hmm.
Awards today, they don't mean what they used to, in my opinion, and I think many people agree. Again, it becomes much more political, much more about what's politically correct or relevant to the industry and to the proponents of it, rather than simply these are awards that are the given to Best Picture, for instance, given to what is the high water mark for the medium in all
Yeah.
respects. Period. I think that's when it should win Best Picture, not based on just the story or just the actors or just the message, which they can all be very good things. But
Mm.
I think that aside, I think Best Pictures to me are the films that have it all. Right, they have a great story first and
Oh,
foremost,
absolutely.
a positive message, regardless of what it is, just as long as it's encouraging humanity to be better to each other. I think that's always great, or to be thoughtful, right? So
Yeah,
you
you're
walk
talking
away
about
thinking.
the Annie Hall slash Star Wars and also the Avatar slash the Hurt Locker discussion. In terms of those respective years where both of those films
Mm,
had the universality, had the positive messages, where the best picture ended up going to more sort of the Annie Hall slash Hurt Locker, you know very, let's say the spectrum of universality, I would say, being totally respectful to Catherine Bigelow, right? Like,
mm,
and Woody, there's a much narrower spectrum in terms of the ability to connect with on a universal perspective and in terms of the overall artistry. So I
yeah.
wholeheartedly agree with you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, just in general, I look at films like I listed Jurassic Park, The Matrix, Interstellar, others like Terminator 2, Aliens, Back to the Future. But for the first three I mentioned, I think that those are films that are great examples of films that should have won Best Picture because they push the whole medium forward. They have a great story, good message, amazing visual effects. Like
Oh,
we're a visual
phenomenal.
medium, right? So it has to be actually visually artistry in film should be the foremost. Aside from a good story, you need to also show a great story in a great way. And right, I think your camera should always be somewhere unique if possible.
Yeah.
Whenever I can turn off the sound, I'll do this often when I'm working because I'll often watch countless movies or shows, quote
While you're
unquote,
working.
watch, those in
Mm.
quotations, air quotes,
Yeah.
while I'm sculpting, because I'm always working on my Cintiq with the TV on, usually playing something, a movie
Yeah,
or
for
a
sure.
review of something. So I'm always consuming as much as I can, or I'm listening to audiobooks while I'm working with my hands and my eyes. Like I'm always stimulated. I'm always
Good
interested in
practice.
learning and enjoying something. But
Hmm.
so I'll often turn off sound sometimes on a movie if I have a call or something comes through, and I'll notice that I'll take a moment and just watch whatever I'm watching without the sound, and I'll just look at the visuals and think, well, if we're just going back and forth with two heads talking, and it's just sustained for exposition or for whatever reason,
Yeah.
And then I say, like, well, look at the scenery, look at the background, look at the elements I had to work with. Why is the camera just in such mundane places all the time? Like, this is
Oh,
terrible,
you just
you know,
made
or
best
TV
friends with
shows where,
all the people who,
ah,
that's something exactly what Neil Blomkamp said. This is like, what is the point of ever like filming something that is just something you would see like a back and forth, a dialogue,
yeah.
and you just made if George Miller, maker of Fury Road is tuning in, you just made him smile his very wide and distinctive smile because he says, look, a
Mm,
movie has to work without the audio. It has to be
hmm
because again, our eyes evolved way before our mouths. That's how I think of it. You know what I mean?
mm,
Like we needed those for survival more, and like eyes came before language. Literally, look at apes, right? So you have to
mm.
honor that visual. Like it's not superficial. Like some people are like, well, I'm just going to put it in the dialogue, and it's like, hey, you want to engage that primal by the fireside, by the roaring fireplace, like caveman storytelling, put some visual, like beautiful implicit Fury Road style storytelling where you're engaged no matter what the dialogue, no matter what is being said. So as you said,
Yeah, I mean, for
mm,
me, that desire for all that just is rooted in, I guess, in being exceptional in whatever you're doing. So that's for me. I
yes,
may not have like a ginormous volume of work to always show for X, Y, or Z, but whatever I do show, I hope that it's at the time, at least, of what I'm capable of, the absolute best I can do if I have the time or ability to, of course, given that time, which is rare sometimes when it comes to industry work. Sadly, I think again, you look back at the '90s, look at the films like Jurassic Park or The Matrix, they at least had just in time. A lot of times, I think some artists who worked on the shows would probably argue that they didn't have too much time, but you still
mm,
look at just the amount of time that was given or effort put into developing like the run of the Rex, right?
yeah.
And
I've
there's
watched
just
that
the level
documentary
of,
so many times. The one hosted
oh
by
yeah,
James Earl Jones, and then so much that you can
hmm
find on YouTube now. But yeah, how they reversed the
yeah,
footage. Dennis Muren was like, it has to be good, has to look good going backwards as well. And
yeah,
that bespoke quality, I can so agree, man. Like so much is just with
mm,
this, the impatience of the modern media slash content consumer makes
yeah.
people cut these corners, and that
Yeah.
inevitably results in risk aversion, and it's sad, man. It's sad.
I think that there needs to be some, I don't know what the exact solution would be, of course, but I think there needs to be some sort of
Well, put
some
you in front of
better,
it. Put Daniel frickin' De
please.
Leon in front of a frickin' project. I want you
Yeah, that's
collabing
the
with Neil Blomkamp and Peter Jackson after he gets over his Hobbit depression. You got you
yeah.
three. I need you three to make something, man.
I know, man. It's definitely a goal for me is
For
to
sure.
make my first film. Like we
Yeah.
were, I guess, sort of chatting a little bit before. It's what I'm working on right now. I mean, I've spent thousands of my own dollars on equipment and preparation for filming a short based on The Last Guardian, fully based on it. It's
Phenomenal.
already storyboarded. I've been in talks with Takeshi Furukawa, who's become a good friend,
Excellent.
composer of Last Guardian. He's in talks with me to potentially do the score for the short, which would be
Phenomenal.
tremendous, of course, because that's very coalesced, then with the
I
game.
have to bring
And
you in with Nick. Nick actually, Nick Satner, he
mm,
wrote the book An Extraordinary Journey in collaboration with Fumito. He's been on the show a couple of
oh,
times.
I'd love to talk with him. Yeah,
I'll got to put you guys,
in touch,
yeah, in touch.
please.
Share some contact because that would be phenomenal. He
Yeah,
would be all over that. He wrote the Shadow of the Colossus book as well.
oh, excellent.
Exactly a fan of yours in the making.
I hope so.
Mm.
I also was speaking to Derek. Know, he is the sound designer. He was the lead sound designer for Last
Are you
Guardian.
kidding me? No, okay, now I get all hot-headed and like Italian right now. Because let me tell you something,
Well,
Daniel. That
mm,
fucking sound design is out of any kind of world right
yes,
now.
it's
Trico,
phenomenal.
oh, do you remember you and me watching? Probably, I'm sure at some point. Maybe I don't know if it was in the same week, right? But like the Gary Rydstrom documentaries about how they did the Raptor sounds and stuff.
Oh yeah,
And when you
oh yeah.
heard,
I'm a super
oh,
nerd when it comes to all of that. That's why it's I don't want to be a director for the sake of any kind of
uh,
prestige or desire for the thing. I'm just a hyper nerd
I
who
know.
understands how to ramp stuff up to a crescendo that people just drool over because that's
Excellent.
other. Because this is how I look at life currently in the filmmaking era today.
Yeah.
We're all us in our 30s and a little bit older, of course.
Mm.
We've all grown up with some of the best teachers that the human race has ever had for artistry,
Yes,
as far as visual
absolutely.
communication, right?
Mm.
Spielberg, Zemeckis, Jackson, Nolan. Those are some of my
Cameron,
top,
for sure.
Cameron, of course. Yeah, those are some of my top favorite directors. Like I've said, all those films.
Mm.
We've grown up with some of the best films that human eyes have ever seen. So there's no reason. We're all students of these guys, and you
Yeah.
can take it as deep as you want to go, just like any classroom. Whether you sit in the front row and you pay attention to everything the teacher's telling you, and then you go do extra work on your own just because you love the content, or you're some lazy ass in the back room who's falling asleep during class, the choice is yours. But for me, I'm the guy in the front row listening to every single syllable that my teacher, who I want to be there
Yes.
for, is teaching me. So I look at Spielberg's work and I look at everything that's the making of every major film I loved of his,
Oh,
right? Everything
dude,
I can find,
such a brother
consume it
from
all.
another mother right now. Seriously.
Just the same thing for Jurassic Park. I mean,
Yeah.
I've spoken with John Rosengrant several times, and
Okay, no, okay,
he's given
hold
me
on.
a
Whoa, whoa,
tour
whoa.
over
We are
there.
we are stopping this show right now because you just no, no, don't you dare, because you spoke to now folks, John Rosenkrantz, who was in the suit of the Raptors in the
Yep.
first 1993 film. Okay, hold on. I'm so glad I'm sitting down, man. I just had a moment then. Dude, that's fantastic. So how is
Well,
it? Like, that's fantastic. That's so good. I'm
mm,
glad you've made that connection between, something that inspired you and then coming full circle meeting the person who made that happen. That's awesome.
yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I would say in the safest sense of the word, I'm a fanatic when it comes to
Yes.
wanting to understand how and why, and without wanting to ever deprive anyone of their privacy. But I want to know how much,
Yeah.
what was the experience like, and not just to pick their brain or to be a hyper nerd, because I'm trying to be sensitive, of course,
Of
to understanding these are
course.
all regular human beings who don't want to be bothered with the same questions that a million
Yeah.
other people have asked them,
And not
or
everyone is
that
not
they've probably
everyone
gone
is
on
that
record.
respectful. I just want to say
Yeah, I
that
mean, they've gone on
exactly.
record saying, "Oh, like I've answered this question." Something like Google the person, right? Come on, people, fans out there, like Google something before you ask somebody that question, because the odds are your question's sadly probably not that unique. They probably been asked the same question a bazillion times and probably don't
Exactly.
want to answer the same damn question again. Let's just try to be
Yeah.
respectful, because these are people who have lives and they have families and time, and so I think of everyone's time as precious to them as well. So I try to be as respectful and considerate as I can be
That's
in
great.
every aspect of life, but especially when it comes to anyone of celebrity, simply because
Yeah, they're just people
uh,
as
you
well,
know they're people as well, and they've got things to do, and they have so much attention on them usually that they're probably tired of the same questions more than likely. I mean, I would think any of us would be at some point. So
Hmm.
yeah, so when my interactions with him were respectful and I mean, decent length. We spoke about potential work, having him, and the legacy potentially bring me on for certain things when there was talks about who was going to get the work for Fallen Kingdom, the next Jurassic World,
Hmm.
and of course, sadly, it went to Neil Scanlon over in the UK. So
Right, right.
unfortunately, they didn't go with Legacy which is a shame, and I think a lot of people were really upset about that, just
I
because
know.
the Steenwiston crew and
I
a
mean,
lot of
it's
the
it's
original guys
legacy.
are
It's in
still
the
in
it's in the
here.
name as well.
Yeah, and they were
Yeah.
the guys who made it all happen. I mean, anything that's some of those biggest names. I mean, people can argue like who's a better artist, who has more of a legacy, whatever. It's all preference. But
Yeah.
for me, it was Jurassic Park and Terminator and Aliens and Predator and all those great creatures, all those animatronics that were just fantastically well crafted by just a group of immensely skilled artists. That all came from that crew, man. That's Stan Winston crew, man. That's John's group of guys there, man. There's just
Yeah. And
So
I've
to me that they are some of the kings of cinema. For
absolutely.
producing the creatures and characters that we all love. So it was an honor to speak with him and to be able to be in communication with him whenever I need to drop him a line for something or connect him with other people who I
Hmm.
wind up meeting who are experts in 3D printing or other areas. It's
Yeah.
always a privilege and a pleasure to be able to interact with him because he's a great guy.
Yeah,
He's
and
been
I can pick out.
extremely kind and respectful. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I sort of noticed that in interviews, and he's just. You guys are definitely, I think, the two of you cut from the same cloth, which is that yeah, there's the aspect of the creativity and the artistry, but I think both of you have this sort of ethos of yeah, there's a lot of work to get done as well. So you both
Mm.
have that sense of yeah, being in connected to the reality of like especially sculpting, which I mean, I did art
Mm.
school, but it's nowhere near what you guys like. You guys are my heroes in that. And that's not smoke blowing. It's just literally
Well,
like to be able to do what you do is yeah puts you in the hero camp for me. And did he
no.
is he still working with Crash McCreary?
I think
John,
they do have interaction. I mean, I have this Crash is one of the few guys from the original crew that's around that I
excellent.
haven't spoken with personally, but of course I'm a huge fan of his. I'm sure they're on fine terms.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I've seen Crash do some stuff here and there for different projects that are
Yeah, he
all
did
connected with the
Rango, I
same circle
think.
of people.
Yeah, Rango
Yeah,
and
yeah.
mm,
I'm sure they're still, in good contact.
excellent.
Yeah, Crash is another hero of mine as far as artistry goes. I mean, just
Yeah,
amazing work, amazing illustration, like,
for sure.
yeah, jaw dropping. Yeah.
I mean, those
Um,
original sketches for Jurassic Park are just,
mm,
totally iconic. The black and whites, and I remember reading
mm,
those in like the Yarralumla Primary School library when we had one ratty old copy of The Making of Jurassic Park,
yeah.
which I'm sure you have one of those. And if you don't, I
Oh yeah.
mean, again, like I'm a
Oh
pic.
yeah.
I have. I'm probably going to be doing so many art book giveaways this year, man. So I have such a like
Uh,
extensive collection. I'll probably just out of because as I said, I like to send people like just a thank you something. So maybe I'll take a big photo of like, here's my art book gallery, Dan. Would you like anything? I'm serious. Like it's
that's
art
so
needs to
sweet.
be
Thank you.
shared for sure, for sure. Awesome. I have
No,
some
yeah, it's
specific questions for you, my friend.
sure.
Actually, before then, you were just in the middle of tailing off a sentence. So please, if you wanted to continue that, we just have a bit of a Discord delay. But go ahead.
Oh, no worries. Let's see, what was I don't know, backtracking. I guess going back to where this whole sort of birth from though, and I'm not trying to again brag it all about people. I'm not trying to name drop just for name
No, it's
dropping.
all
I'm
good.
just grateful to have
Just people. Yeah, yeah.
known and met people like John and others. But I think that there's just been a definite shift in the industry from when we were kids growing up and being students of these great masters of art, right? And there's a shift to what we see today.
Mm.
And I guess my whole point of bringing up all these great directors is that we're all students of them. And if we're not, that great Da Vinci phrase, poor is the pupil who does not surpass his master. Like it's if you're not a great student and you're not doing better than what your teachers have done, then you're probably not the best student. I feel like there needs to be this level of, I mean, of course, there's all these variables that can come into play to say, well, there's a reason why this didn't get, more time or this wasn't blah, blah, blah. But I feel like it's just a shame that there's not more spectacular, true, all around amazing films, blockbusters, that
I
we don't see
know.
that much anymore. It's like a one or two a year, maybe. And I don't really count Marvel, even though they make a ton of money, like just a shit ton of money, I know.
Yeah.
But again, like how many iconic camera angles, how many themes other than the main theme can we, like, there's just, what I mean? Like we don't see as
Oh,
much
preach, man,
thematic, like
preach.
beautiful themes for every character in every movie anymore. We don't see as much, like I think of The Matrix, when you think of impossible camera angles and just phenomenal, like cut out of a comic book, except there was no comic book literally before it. It
Mm.
was just, we envision great dynamic angles and we put the camera, whether it's digital or real, we just blur that line and just put the camera in impossible position, slow time down and push things here. Not that every film has to be that way, granted, because there's all different genres, but I just feel that for the blockbuster adventure, which is like the most all-encompassing genre, because you can
Yeah.
put everything in an adventure. You can have romance and comedy and horror
Yeah,
and
it can really
thrills and
encapsulate the human experience,
everything.
like absolutely.
Truly, the pinnacle of a human experience. Yeah, it's just Indiana Jones. I mean, oh my God, those first three films. I wanted to be Harrison Ford. I
Yeah.
wanted Indiana Jones. I was like, dude, I resonated so much with that character and the stories and just the idea of the extraordinary happening to someone who was just looking for something extraordinary but didn't know what they were getting into. We just don't see that much anymore today, and I feel like that is really a shame. And that's where I feel as if I don't say this with any level of not understanding the weight of it, but I truly feel that great filmmaking, great storytelling is something I was born to do. Like that's a part
Yeah.
of
Oh,
why I feel
I
I
can
exist.
tell.
And that's where my passion comes from, and it's not out of any desire for fame or notoriety, because none of that.
No, you're pulled to it,
Or
and this is the difference. So some people like one thing that can, it's sort of that rite of passage, that sort of trial by fire of like, is this something? Is this me? I think the way you can tell is whether you're pulled to it or whether you're
mm,
pushing to make it happen. And I mean, there's
mm,
something really irrepressible about like just the way you're speaking about it, that I immediately could intuitively say, as a fellow like creator myself, like I can tell when someone is called to something and when they're pulled forward by their passion for something rather than pushing. Like that's
mm,
so like woven into in like how you're phrasing these like when you're talking about the subject matter, man. So as long as we got the Daniels out there, the De Leons, and as long as we have, and I'll throw like, because it is pretty bleak when you think about it, but let's see if we can name drop a few. So you got the Villeneuves, all right, right? You got the Arrivals, the Blade Runner 2049s, which they frankly didn't give a crap, and they, about box office, and I know, and what's sad is, I mean, the first Pacific Rim, which was this this freaking unicorn of a film, which had the now Oscar-winning Guillermo del Toro, and there was this wonderful opportunity for creature design, robots, and everything. And I remember I was such a, you can look back in like all of interactive artistry way back when it was still called Tweety Gamer. I was like furious at how risk averse people were. It's almost as though it's like, well, if it doesn't have Robert Downey Jr. in it or Scarlett Johansson in it, and if it's not Marvel, and I get angry, man. You know what I mean? It's like, what are you doing?
No, I mean, yeah, I think everyone's states, of course, is a little different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm definitely probably in a more narrow spectrum as far as certain adventures I really love and those that I'm like,
true.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I don't want to besmirk anyone's.
Of course.
I don't want to put down anyone else's work. Of course, I think
Dude, you can throw shade. This is a safe space. Get cathartic. I already know I'm probably, again, obviously depending on your availability, but you've got so much to articulate and say. I can tell you're so immediately. We're even just like 30 minutes into this one. I'm already absolutely open to if you wanted to come back on and just get a chime in from you. Totally, man. Absolutely. You're made. Do you do podcasts? You probably do, obviously, right?
No, you're probably my first.
Oh, shut up! You have such a good like grounding of like how to there's no let's just say the radio waves / the airwaves. They're big fans of Daniel because some people don't know how to kind of hold space for like this medium. But no, you're a natural dude, and
thank you.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Jordan Peele. Now he's doing some good stuff. Like with Get Out, like that felt like something that could have come out in the 80s with that. Oh my gosh, what do you reckon?
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. I had it hyped up for me so much before I saw it. That was probably part of the problem. Like people acted as if it was the next. I don't know, like he was the next George Romero or something. Like it was just like, oh my god! And I went to see it, and I was like, it's not terrible. It's not. My jaw didn't hit the floor. I was just like, okay. I mean, I love good horror. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, I look at like something like The Exorcist, right? Or I look at a thriller like The Shining, or I don't know. I feel like good horror is rare, and I think that. I think it was also very timely. I think that there was a lot of I think there was a lot of discussion in general at that time that it hit on, and there was a lot of there was a lot of Black Lives Matter going on at the time too, like a lot of news surrounding those things. And so I think to see very successful, very talented Black people performing in certain capacities and putting the light on that, I think also drew a lot more attention at the time. Not to detract from its quality as far as a film and as far as what it was aiming to do. It just didn't. I didn't look at it though and saying like, "Oh my God, this is the greatest film ever." I just thought, it's okay. It's an okay horror film. I think Jordan's a very talented comedian. I think he's hilarious. Oh my God, Jordan Peele. The whole thing is just Key and Peele. That whole series. Oh my God, they slay me. They are fucking hilarious.
So good.
And I'm excited to see what he's going to do with Twilight Zone because I'm a huge fan of the original.
See, that could be good, and Black Mirror as well. If I think about it, I think there's more originality.
So good.
I know, Metalhead. There's so much.
Yes, dude, that's my favorite.
My dude, I knew it. I just had to man.
Because it's like a creature feature, man. It's like Terminator mixed with Cujo or something. It's just phenomenal. That's just oh my God. I wish I could just buy. Dude, if anyone from Netflix ever comes past this, they should make a whole series out of just Metalhead. That whole world. It's
I know.
Like just do a whole mini movie. Like honestly, what was that last one that came out? The
Bandersnatch
mini movie. Yes, I was like, this is just I was like, it's an interesting idea. The interactive movie thing is definitely something we've all been wanting to see, but this was just I thought that was honestly
man, Metalhead
I would
every day.
prefer a whole mini movie of Metalhead to me. That would be just phenomenal.
I just had an epiphany, dude. There's a reason why it's okay. Like our depression, our collective mourning and sadness that you and I and many others share. There's a reason for it, and it is a sign from the universe that we are shifting away. And I think the Bob Igers of the world and the Hulus and the Netflix people of the world, they're like, yeah, look. Whilst it's almost like filmmaking on the theatrical scale has been given the, say if there was like a Walmart shutting down and they put this big old plaster, it's like closing in 2021 or something, and they're only keeping the strongest brands in the store. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
safest brands in the store. Whereas now, collectively, as a artistic and creative consciousness, people are shifting to the Oat Studios, which is Neil Blomkamp, who just did that wonderful
Mm-hmm.
short for Anthem. Talk about interactive artistry, kind of collaboration between the art forms. Then you have the
Mm-hmm.
metalheads, and then you have something like Okja, which was that Netflix
I
exclusive
love
with
that
the.
Okja. Yeah,
I
very
haven't
much
seen
like
I
Last
haven't seen it
Guardian.
yet. Would you recommend?
Oh, oh, highly,
Oh my
highly
God, what am
recommend.
I
I mean,
doing? Right after this, I'll.
watch it. Yeah,
I
have a
will.
tissue box nearby, but I would say
Oh,
it has a good ending. Like Last
okay.
Guardian. I mean, I never try to spoil anything for anybody, but I know that so many films, and I think I know a lot of people who are also apprehensive about Last Guardian simply because they know they're like everyone was saying it as soon as they saw the first trailer. They're like, oh, they're gonna kill him off. They're gonna
Yeah,
kill him, of course.
the penny
Everyone's
arcade.
gonna cry, And it's like, well, it has a good ending though. I'll just say that. And it's like I'd say the same thing for Okja. I thought, oh god, they're gonna kill this poor thing, and that's part of the gut wrenching, of course, but it has a good ending. So
That's
that's all I'll
right.
say. It's like you walk away with tears that are both positive and sad. But
Mm.
um,
Well,
yeah, I feel like it's a great film. So, yeah. So, but you're right though
excellent.
that it's like we're seeing this shifting of quality. We're seeing it more in streaming shows and off the silver screen, which is interesting and sad. I think at the same time. I mean, it's great in that it's more available than ever on any device
Hmm.
and everywhere. I just think it probably gets more eyes that way, I guess, than even maybe cinemas. But there's still this level of prestige, of course. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But we've all grown up with it, so there's
It's
still this
so
level of like,
crazy. I would have never thought that this would
film.
happen. Exactly. Like that we're shifting away from that being the norm. And it's like,
Mm,
Bob Iger is now at our shoulders, like patting us on the back and being like, it's okay. Like, you have to let go. You have to let go. It's about the Mandalorians now. It's about the True Detective.
mm.
It's about the Umbrella Academies and the Expanse and
Westworld.
Westworld, Altered Carbon, and it's like I think,
Mm.
yeah. Also, Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, which is another
That's
wonderful
coming.
thing. Exactly. So then
Yeah.
that could mean that, and then you obviously have James Cameron talking up and down about how they're so excited about the new Terminator films that they're going to do, but.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then
Yeah.
Neil Blomkamp doing another RoboCop, which is great. We're seeing all these things that are like, forget
That's right.
the middling late 90s, early 2000s sequels. We're actually making the actual second one. So he's like, this one comes
Yeah.
right after RoboCop 2, and this one comes right
Mm.
after Terminator 2, and they're like just
Yeah.
completely erasing all the others.
I
So
just hope they're good. That's all I
I
hope
know.
at this point. I'm just like we've had our hopes dashed before, so I'm like very cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
I am a huge James Cameron fan, especially of his older work. Of course, Avatar. I'm like, yeah, it was okay. I mean, like I'll be honest, like
Dude,
I
Thanator,
respect him
come
as a
on.
filmmaker.
Creature design, exclusively
That
creature
is
design.
cool. The only thing I complain about because I have a biology background is the whole heptapod thing, dude. Six legs doesn't make sense on a mammalian animal. It just
There
doesn't.
you
I'm
go.
sorry.
All
I
right.
mean, but it's creative choice, so
Cameron,
it's
you're
like,
getting
all right,
called out. Wait, I know you're listening, James Cameron. Listen, okay, he's got
right.
you. He's gonna see you in the parking lot later. You're gonna have an
He's gonna
alien
find me
at.
and just hire someone to beat me up. Yeah. Yeah, no,
Don't
I
don't
really have
don't don't be
respect for
bringing it. Don't be bringing like freaking
logic,
yeah,
science.
anatomically incorrect stuff to Daniel. Okay, he's gonna come at you. All right. So funny, so good. All right, man.
No
Well,
man.
I have to because you're the Last Guardian man, right? Okay, I
Mm.
thought I was, but you're making a short film, so I sort of have to kneel respectfully in deference because I've, dude. But I want to read you this thing that I put together ahead of it being released, and I don't know because I know you're in the process of making the short film, so I wonder if this you probably made this connection before, but I'll read it. So, Last Guardian. Story of an unbreakable bond of friendship between a boy and a large winged creature working as one to escape a vast crumbling castle has been in the making for 10 years. On the 6th of December, their wait will be over. Last Guardian's name became synonymous with the very real struggle most storytellers and artists and creators face, that of bringing one's complete vision to life without any compromise. Most projects faced with even one of the Last Guardian's innumerable obstacles, including an unprecedented core mechanic, which was a completely organic, advanced, authentically lifelike AI, being announced far too early and creating a stigma from the outset of taking too long, having a highly introverted and idiosyncratic director, Fumito Ueda, pioneer of the contemporary art game, who refused to rush the project, and several more. A lesser game would have failed and never seen the light of day, and yet The Last Guardian endured, I believe, for two reasons. First, The sheer mastery of its conceptualization, the unforgettable and unmistakable visual motifs, the melancholy, light-dappled beauty of the world, all converging to tell a highly engaging and relatable story. A boy and his beast playing on a mythical and folklore archetypes dating back thousands of years. But second, and perhaps most importantly, is Fumito himself. And I cannot think of a more obviously metaphorical meta endeavor than The Last Guardian. So this is the part I want your thoughts on. Fumito is the boy, desperately trying to escape this maze of ruins, which was development, the antiquated ruin of games industry, ever stuck in the ancient heritage and filled with faceless tormentors brandishing excruciating, upsetting tropes like lewdness and immature attitudes and, like risk aversion. And this was his beast, the last of its kind. Like the boy, Fumito struggled hard to bring the creature round to his own vision, and that's why everyone's like, "Oh, the gameplay! I can't get it to come round to me." Dude, it was fucking intentional. It's metaphorical, you plebs. You know what I mean? So he struggled. Yeah, he struggled to make this creature go where he wanted it to, and like the creature, the game resisted its master, refusing to shift itself until at long last they came to understand one another and were able to reach their journey's end together. The release of The Last Guardian is the expression of an insurmountable will, both in the real world and in the story itself. It has resonated so deeply with my own experiences with life and art as one, and highlights the enduring power of art that is rooted in one's own core truths and struggles. So I had to share that, dude. My man, what do you think?
I think it's well said. I also think that there's probably parallels that can be drawn, sort of chicken or the egg kind of thing. I think that you can look at it, and I think that there's many metaphors that can be paralleled with the game as well.
Yeah.
I don't know that, having only briefly met Fumito Ueda once, he's very humble,
Yeah, he's extremely
and very smart, of course, very intelligent and very kind. I don't know that he would, and this is to his credit. This is to a compliment to him. I feel as if to echo the industry and his challenges in it and to making the game, I feel like that's almost too, because it's almost too parallel, right?
Yeah.
They were creating the game and having struggles, but the story was already done for a long time. So I'm not sure that they would be able to interweave his own. I don't think of him as a narcissist either. And I feel like that would almost be narcissistic to kind of, put so much of the parallels of a struggle of making something into the mechanics of it.
That's like the Kojima situation, with Metal Gear Solid 5. Some people like drew so many parallels. With like, oh, there's a lot of pain on screen, and the lost limbs must represent that Kojima's lost his hands in his project, and there's the themes of being silenced and losing one's language, and that means that he's. And so sometimes there's these things people read into it, but sometimes these things manifest subconsciously. But that is very it's important to keep that in mind, though, for sure.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But I think definitely, ultimately, of course, it's an expression of his. It's a work of art that is entirely, from its whole story and design. Of course, it's entirely him. It's very clearly got his stamp on it. And like we were saying, I mean, there's obviously inspiration directly, which he admits, drawn from E.T. and the Iron Giant and the like. But it's his own tale of that. It's his own version of it, and I feel like it surpasses all of those, in my opinion. And I have respect for all of them. But
dude, you are so cut from the same cloth as me. Like, and I love E.T., love those others, but you're phenomenal. Like, there's just something like Trico. Daniel, you've seen a whole bunch of designs. You are a creature designer and a creature sculptor. Can you name something where they were able? This is like when I was researching the Last Guardian extensively, as I did. He's like Fumito saying, yeah, we literally combine all these creatures intuitively together, and it just feels like something that has, and the beginning of that game is it shows it in those kind of cryptozoological drawings, and it's like it feels like it's always been around, and I think you harnessed that for sure.
He's the Trico, that's the crux of The Last Guardian. That's the focal point, really. I mean, anything else about it you could see that in almost any other game, but Trico is the whole heart of the game, really. It's revolves around this animal. It's a griffin without the beak, and its own unique combination of primarily dog, cat, and bird, right? And if you think about that from the real world perspective, which type of pets are the most common that everybody has? A dog, a cat, or a bird. So right there, that resonates with the majority of people who love animals, or who love them so much that they own one, right? That they have one in their life. I myself have a corgi, and I grew up with dogs and cats as a kid, from a very young age. So, and I majored in biology and pre-med in university. So I have an immense, deep fascination and love for the emotional connection we share with animals, as well as the biological and scientific attributes that they teach us.
Hmm.
So for me, the impact that The Last Guardian had obviously was profound. If I wouldn't be making a short film, my first, based
So
on
this
that, of the,
really pulled you to enter something that you simply just haven't done before, and it was all, again, as I said,
I
being pulled
always,
forward. That's remarkable.
yeah, thanks. I mean, it's my dream was always to do filmmaking. And for anyone who really knows me well, they know that if I had my choice, right? No one's life goes the way they plan it usually, but if I had my choice, I would have already been working on and or have made Echo the Dolphin, a feature film already. I'm good friends with Enda Nunziata,
Okay,
the creator of
what are
Echo.
you doing right now? You're scaring me, man. I played Echo up and down in this bizatch. Do you understand? That's like a formative game for me. You're freaking me
Oh yeah,
out, dude. It's like we
I
grew up
was my sister.
together. The hell?
My sister and I played that game and we beat it. We were
Nice.
respectively 4 years apart, but we both worked really hard to beat that game because it's very hard. It's a game that, as I just retweeted someone else tweeting about it to him, because it's just trended on Reddit today,
Hmm.
uh, that it was one of the first games. This guy said it exactly like I would say it. It made you think. Right. This is something that
True.
I'm very much a proponent of. I mean, I don't think you pursue any of the things I've pursued in my life without having an affinity for thinking,
Yeah.
enjoying a cerebral challenge, enjoying something that makes you put mental energy into it. So Echo, people, you'd have young people. You want to talk about plebs, right? I don't mean to be talk down on people, but
I know,
I'll
that
throw a
was
little
just me
shade.
getting heated. Yeah.
No, but it's like people. They're not everyone's a rocket scientist, all right?
True,
Not all of us
true.
are brain surgeons. I mean, myself included. But there, there are people who love thinking, and there are people who don't want to think, and people readily admit that. And for me, I'm one of the people who loves to use my mind. I love to think. I love to find logic and reasoning, and of course, that can lead into differences of opinion with people, and that's fine. I'm also a big proponent of agreeing to disagree.
Mm.
And if someone doesn't like what I say or think, that's fine. We don't have
Yeah.
to hate each other, though. And I think that's a
Oh,
big.
can we just have
That's
more
a,
Daniels in the world? We need this. We
that's.
need well reasoned, like like a
Hmm.
freaking well rounded people. I just want that. I'm just pleading out to people listening. Can we just have more? And if you have people listeners in your life who are like that, just show them lots of love because we need them in the world. We need more
Thank
Daniels
you.
in the world. Just like having their head on their shoulders in a really well rounded and open minded way. Seriously, my goodness.
Yeah, no, we have to. I think we all live on the same planet. We all have to get along. We should be aiming to preserve life and innocence as much as possible.
Hmm.
Um, I think that we should all be fans of justice, fans of logic, fans of reasoning, fans of kindness.
Hmm.
I grew up in a conservative home,
Hmm.
but I was never taught to be a bigot. I was never taught to hate anybody. I'm not afraid to say I grew up in a Christian home, and
Yeah,
they
that's
they
cool.
taught us the
All
core
good.
of Christ, which was to love others. So that's the foundation right there. Love
Yeah.
God and love others as yourself. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I've
right. That's
always
so
seen
simple.
I always felt like God is love kind of thing. It's like,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely. That's what
he
he,
is
he calls himself.
universe.
So,
Absolutely.
I think
So,
that's part of it. And there's so many deep philosophical holes we can go down, but
for sure.
we live in a flawed world, for whatever reason. But I believe that there's also like so much in so much of life. With freedom also comes with great freedom. Not to try to parallel anything of Spider-Man, but with great freedom also comes great risk. I would say.
Yeah.
There's this true inheritance. You want freedom. You want to climb a side of a mountain without a rope. Well, guess what? The equal level of that freedom is the high risk that you could fall to your death. There's that
Truly.
there. So I look
They
at
go hand in
with freedom.
hand.
There's just there's this duality there that happens with an immense amount of liberty comes immense dangers at time, and that's where we have to walk a fine line at times in different societies where we have to hope to have both civility and a certain level of law and control without going full communism, of course, because nobody wants that because it never works.
Hmm.
Nazis epitomized that, I think, the true Hitler Nazis. So I think that with art, I feel like that this is I think that we can get too far without getting too far into politics at all. I think that art should always be free without the intent of um, directly inciting violence or harm, encouraging any of that. We should never encourage that of innocence, of course. I mean, but with that aside, I think that there should be such wide availability for expression in art that there should be room for everybody for the most part.
Absolutely, and it is the virtue of this particular like area of life where we're given out of all the creatures, to been given different gifts we were given. Like birds had the wings and fish have the gills, and we got this thing called creativity and ingenuity,
Mm,
and
yeah.
that really like actually permits us eternity. It permits us all kinds of possibilities, and I can see
Yeah.
how
Such
it
a
would.
legacy.
And I can see how it would make someone who has that mindset like yourself and that sort of that heart as yourself, creative heart, and like at like towards life, your attitude towards life. It would dismay to see people not seizing on that. And but it also again you
Mm.
could again I always say this. I say this. My girlfriend is she does like personal life kind of coaching stuff as well,
Oh,
business
nice.
coaching and stuff. Yeah, and so we talk about people making choices about what to do with an unpleasant circumstance or an unpleasant development. Say if someone isn't being open-minded towards you, or they're closed off, or they've closed themselves off, we have a choice either to like use that to create a victim space and to feel like we have to project and stuff, or you can take the compassionate route and you can take the perspective keeping route, and then just
Mm.
keep showing love no matter if you get turned down, if people insult, or if they're anything. You realize that it's just you keep that perspective that look, they've probably got a lot going on in their lives, so then it's not about it being about you, so then you have that way to sort of go forward and just yeah be like to especially in the creative space where egos can really flare up and entitlement can
Mm.
really flare up, to be as well rounded as you've chosen to be is a blessing, man, for sure.
Mm. No, thank you. Yeah, no, I got to attribute anything that's a positive in my life to my upbringing. My parents, they're
Shout out to
two very
Daniel's
well
parents.
educated.
Oh my God, heck
Yeah.
yeah. So no, for sure. I genuinely mean that, and like, because I completely agree from that point of view, and so
Yeah.
that's lovely. So just are they was it just all of you guys in the U.S.?
Well, long story short, they immigrated to the U.S. legally through the
Mm-hmm.
law. They worked hard to come in back in the 70s.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of following the law, by the way.
So am I.
So, yep, yep, it's a good thing. So they were university educated. They came in, worked hard, immigrated through from worked. They landed first in Texas, worked there for a while, then went to South Carolina, North Carolina, York, and then Lancaster, Pennsylvania is where they settled. So I
Okay.
grew up. I was born in '82 there in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Amish country. So we're talking about like rolling country
Oh
hills
my
and farmland
God,
and
that's
just beautiful
beautiful.
scenery, but not LA, not by any means. But
Yeah.
pastoral, just beautiful
Oh,
scenery. I mean, I really
wonderful.
started to appreciate it when I got to my teens and started looking through the lens of a camera, taking a lot of photos, and was a small time photographer for a while, I guess, and got familiar with camera work then.
Yeah, I can see that in the
And
profiles. You've got your camera there. Yeah, that's cool, man. Hey, once a
y-
photographer, always a photographer. I say. My dad was a photographer as
Absolutely.
well. Yeah, or is rather. Yes, that's cool.
Mm.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's where I grew up, and yeah, but yeah, my sister and I were born here in the States,
Hmm.
and yeah, I mean, so I think that I have a unique perspective because I have a family that's unique. My parents are
I
both
knew
from
there
Latin
had to be
America
a wrinkle
originally.
to that. I think, yeah, and like I myself am, as I say affectionately, because I just think, you don't want to profile or make blanket statements, but I feel
Mm,
like my parents immigrated from like Italy and England
mm,
respectively to Australia, and my my girlfriend from like I got Egyptian and Bangladesh kind of. Ancestry, and I don't know,
mm,
it's like I've always been able to just vibe with people who have like, yeah, been through that. I didn't just get everything
mm.
handed to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's I think it brings a lot of perspective. It cultivates a very, yeah, again, as I say, perspective keeping life ethos, I suppose.
Oh, sure, sure. No, I think there's something to be said for having a good work ethic, and that
Mm.
usually is something that's been taught to someone. That's
And you're
that's not
putting
something
us,
that.
I'm sorry, but you're putting us to shame because I'm looking through the Instagram. Dude, you're the gym junkie as well. Come on now. Making us look horrible. Us weedy. I'm doing my best. I keep up my yoga. What do you want from me? Listen, Daniel, I got a busy life. I don't have time for the gym.
Hey, man,
All
as
the
long as you're not
excuse.
overweight, you're fine, right? Come on.
Yeah, I sometimes teach it, but I do love my Canberra's you're welcome anytime, by the way. You're staying at my place if you come to Canberra, Australia. I may be Australian, but we got the Italian heritage of like, come on over.
I've
So,
always wanted to go to Australia, man. I might
oh,
take you up on
dude,
that.
do it. Melbourne and Canberra. Yeah, I'll wine and dine you. Ray and I will show you the sights. Um,
Sounds good.
faux show. But no, what was I saying? Yeah. So, oh, gosh, I actually had a host of other questions, but we're almost at an hour, dude. This has been crazy. You need to come back on the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Easy.
Well, hey, any other questions you have, I'm more than happy to keep going for a
Oh
bit.
yeah, we'll do some rapid fire. But first of all, did you have anything? Because I always like to just check. Because if we had the hour that we said, do you have to dash or anything? Just figured I'd check respectfully.
No, no, thank you. No,
Okay,
I'm good to go. Yeah.
easy peasy. All right. So, out of all the Star Wars projects, one you're most looking forward to, you can say anything. It's like anything on the horizon. What's up?
Man, I've been starting to like lose faith in Star
I
Wars,
know.
sadly.
Me too. Me too. I know.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm really that excited about
I
it.
know.
I'm
I think
sorry.
I think the
I I
Mandalorian
love the
might.
original three. That
Yeah.
was the Mandalorian. Yeah, I'm curious about it because I am a big Boba Fett fan. So to see the armor alone, I'm like, okay, I'm curious, and I like Jon Favreau.
Okay.
I know he's involved, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is. Oh, he's directing, and he's
Yeah,
apparently
that's right.
apparently he had written the scripts even before. He just wrote them in his spare time, and he was like just
Mm,
wishing upon a star, Pinocchio style, to one day maybe
that's awesome.
direct an episode. And this is really so. When I think the dream come true, and when someone can bring that, especially if you're as well. And when you're in the John Favreau position, you could give yourself the license to be like, "Hey, I directed the Iron Man. I kickstarted MCU. I've got that arrogance and that like, let me just take the foot off the pedal." But apparently, like he was such a big kid about it that he said like, when I was making the Jungle Book, I used blue screens instead of green screens because George Lucas used blue screens. And
That's
I was
awesome.
like, "You are so adorable, John." You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
All right.
No, and I love the Jungle Book. Oh my God, that was a great remake. If
Dude,
you talk about good
crazy.
remakes, that was to me that was one of them. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, we need that for sure. All right, well, so I suppose the official answer is lost faith. I'm just penciling that in now. So Daniel has lost faith in Star Wars.
Well, I mean, hey, man, if we
I'm
could go
kidding.
back to the style of the original three, man, I grew up with those. I
Please,
loved them.
exactly, me
I
too.
mean, I didn't have a big problem with the special editions. I
I
know some
know.
people hate them. I'm like, hey, it was
That's
fun to
fine.
see them re-envisioned another way.
Yeah.
And the prequels were,
Yeah.
I think the
This
last
is
one
this
of
is your
the three was
refrain,
the
but
best of
I'm
them.
gonna do an
But
impression of you. It's like, it's fantastic. It's so
sorry, man.
good.
I am telling you the truth. I'm
I'm
telling you, we're
glad.
not seeing a lot of innovation anymore. It's like
Yeah.
we're not seeing what we used to. And I don't want to sound like an
Totally.
old crotchety man,
No,
but
man, you and me both. We're two old crotchety men in Sicily, like sitting. We've just finished our chess game. We're just yelling at seagulls right now. You know what I
you
mean?
damn kids, get off my lawn.
Yeah. Vale, vattene via, vattene via. All right.
We're old souls.
I know exactly. Full show. Full show. So out of all the mediums, if Cory Barlog from Santa Monica, who just swept all the awards with on the interactive side with God of War, designing
Mm,
these massive, he said, "Oh, Neverending Story was one of my main inspirations," and he like totally
mm.
revitalized God of War into this beautiful father-son, emotionally nuanced tale. If he gave you a call, or if someone from Lucasfilm gave you a call, or if someone from frickin' Black Mirror, hey, we need you to work on this metalhead kind of mini series. Like, which of those jobs would you take?
Oh man, I think
I
I'd have to go with Metalhead
Oh
personally.
my god, ahead of
Yeah,
Star Wars. Jesus. You just made a
yeah.
bunch of Netflix executives just blush with happiness.
Well, again, innovation, man. I'm talking. Let's show
Yeah.
us something new, even if
New,
it's like
exactly.
Last Guardian's like it's like an old tale redone, right? But it's a totally new property.
Exactly.
Metalhead is like everyone could say it's like I said, Terminator and Cujo mashed together, but it's new. And it did
Absolutely.
something very unique, and it's so that idea of a killer robot or a series of them coming after people, that's old. That's old hat.
Hmm.
But it's updating it with current technology. And I'm a huge science nerd. I'm a huge technology fan. I keep up on everything that I can. So to see them incorporating stuff that we've seen now, that's kind of still old when you compare it to like the news cycle. Big
Yeah.
Dog, right? Boston Dynamics robots. Those have been around for quite a while, and we still haven't
Hmm.
seen movies accurately portray what what tomorrow's version of that would
I
look like.
know.
And then Metalhead came along and said, "This is what Big Dog looks like, Little Dog, whatever."
Yeah.
If it
Terrifying.
was Terminator esque, and I'm like,
Oh,
that's badass. And that was
so
I
good.
found some of the concept artists on Instagram and befriended them because I had to tell them how much I love their work. I'm a huge fan of personally of just finding, like we've talked about earlier, just finding the artists who created what I love
Yes,
and just
yes, me
thanking them, at
too.
least just finding enough time in their life and a way to say thank you and have some sort of semblance of an intelligent conversation with them,
Oh
just to
yeah.
hear who they are and just to hear how their mind works, and
Well, I did the
just to share,
same.
like you're saying, some camaraderie with them, just to say thank you for making
Yeah.
such fantastic work.
And with no other
And
further expectations than that, and I very much went into,
yeah.
when I saw that sculpture. I mean, I'd never seen a Traker sculpture. In fact, earlier, as it was leading up to The Last Guardian, I was kind of daydreaming. So then again, I'm not smoke blowing, no platitudes, hyperbole. I was like, when I saw your sculpture, I was like, wow, literal dream come true. Need to speak to this guy to give him my thanks, to show him my appreciation. And no, you could have been all like, well, I'm in LA, I'm better than you. You could have been all kinds of different personalities, but then the added bonus is, yeah, the kindredness. It's been one kindred awesomeness connection making after another in this chat, and I was like, that's fantastic, man. So I'm very blessed, and I would consider, I've messaged gosh, I think I even sent a message to like a bunch of other studios. I sent one to Santa Monica, like director of God of War. I think, yeah, Karl Kopinski, some of my like mainstay kind of, and same with you. And like I hold you in that same pool of people who it's like just have to
Oh, thank
go
you.
exactly and just sort of and share that, because, and it's funny, you and I are big nerds for the people behind the scenes, the people who, sorry to throw shade, but that the Academy almost didn't give enough airtime to during the Oscars. Like, good
No, I
night.
don't
What
care.
the exactly? Neither do I.
No,
Exactly.
I feel like honestly we are part of that younger generation coming up too. I think where it's older executives and older actors,
Yeah.
older celebrities in general. I think it's time to wake up. I think we are the proverbial bitch slap to the face when it comes
Yes.
to, we don't care about your politics. We don't care about your platform necessarily. We don't care about your self gratitude. We don't want to see people, be masturbatory essentially, which
Yeah.
is like they're just all congratulating each other on their own small personal accomplishments.
Yeah. Who needs
We
that?
want great art. We want great storytelling. Quick story. I
Hmm.
was lucky to message Steven, a reporter from Collider. He put out this tweet and said, "Hey, we're doing the only other second screening, live screening and Q&A with the director Christopher McQuarrie for Mission Impossible
Oh, Fallout.
Rogue Nation."
Oh, Rogue
And
Nation.
I'm a
Okay.
huge Mission Impossible, or not, sorry, not Rogue Nation, sorry, Fallout. Excuse
Fallout.
me.
Yeah.
That's going
Okay.
back because
Cool.
he
Cool.
directed both.
Mm.
I'm a huge fan of the Mission Impossible series, especially 1, 3, 4, and 5.
Mm.
And or 5 and 6, excuse me. There we go. They're all great, but those are
Absolutely.
my particular favorites. And Christopher McQuarrie is just a phenomenal writer and director. I'm a huge fan.
Mm.
But I was like, oh man, this is a great opportunity to be able to actually speak with him and meet him. So I had to seize the opportunity, and so I wrote an email just minutes before the closing deadline to Steven, because he said on the tweet, anyone who'd like to attend the screening, it's very limited. It's at IMAX headquarters here in
Mm.
LA, which is normally only accessible to directors and executives for screenings of the finest caliber of their films in their headquarters, right? So this was a
Wow.
very unique opportunity. And so I was like, I have to at least try. So I rushed the email last minute, realizing, because I went to bed that night, fall asleep working, and I told myself, I set an alarm even in my calendar on my iPhone and said,
Great.
oh, I'm gonna write an email. And I fell asleep, and then I was like, shit. When I woke up, and I was like, God damn it, I forgot to write that email. Looked at the time. Oh my God, I have like 5 minutes. Blazed through this email to like tell him like who I am and why I want to come and how much I respect Christopher McQuarrie and just the opportunity, and he chose me of like several hundred
Wow.
people. I was one to be chosen to come along, so I was extremely grateful. Went to the screening, of course, arrived early. Thanks, Stephen, for picking me. We had a little banter and fun, and
Nice.
then director showed up. We all got seated, and to Christopher's credit, he came and stayed to do this for a couple of reasons. First of all, it was the only 3D screening of
Oh,
Mission Impossible
Fallout.
Fallout in the U.S. The only 3D screening ever in the U.S. Because they only released it in 3D apparently overseas, like in China, and I think maybe in the
Wow.
UK or in Europe. So we were amongst. That's the only reason why he wanted to do another one, because apparently he did one before that I didn't miss out. I didn't hear about it, but it was just in 2D. So funny story through this was that halfway through the movie, the second projector, I guess because they need two, of course, to do the dual two eyes, to filter it through the polarized lenses. One of the bulbs died. So halfway
Oh
through the movie,
no.
all of us have our one eye go black. And Christopher was like, I thought we just had like, this is the first time I was in a movie and I thought I had like
A
a
seizure.
retinal detachment or a
Yeah.
seizure or something. And then it turned out, of course, there's just one of the projectors died, so we watched the rest of the half of the movie in 2D. But afterwards, there was just a slew of different questions, and all this coming full circle to say, Christopher pointed out something that I full-heartedly agree with, and was impressed that he had the balls to say it. He even said, before he answered Steven's questions, he thought for a moment and said, "Ah, fuck it. If the Academy wants to revoke my membership, I don't care." Like, and
Oh
then he went on
fuck
to,
yeah.
I'll paraphrase and say, he had the balls to say this because I agree with him. It's Hollywood and their kind of this sort of self righteousness and preachiness. I mean, to each their own, right? I'm not, I don't. I may
Uh,
disagree with people, but I don't hate them.
exactly.
I'll just
Yeah,
say that.
yeah, yeah.
But he's saying they've gotten to this point where if something doesn't fit their political lean or their agenda, then it's not worth, the Oscars
Yeah.
or Best Picture
Oh,
awards or all this stuff where it's just like, guys, get over yourselves. Like,
I
it's getting to a point
know.
where artistry has lost its way in their eyes, and it's more about their politics than it is about entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Films are meant first and foremost to communicate visually something spectacular
Hmm.
and thrilling escapism, right? And
Yeah, and
then and during these
storytelling. Yeah,
high
yeah. Mm.
tension, angry, volatile times that we have see all over the world at different points, people want to escape. People want to enjoy artistry for the positive, right? We don't want to just
Yeah.
watch something that just alienates half the population, and takes such a strong lean where it's like we can't all agree, we can't be ecumenical, we can't all say, well, like, let's find some positive things we can all agree on and entertain them. It's like, no, we have to be hard on one side and just alienate the other, and
We
to
have
me
to,
I'm
yeah,
like,
we have to
dude,
take the risk. Otherwise, if you try to please anyone, you're literally just giving gray mulch. There's no meal there. There's nothing risk
well,
taking, you know?
yeah, yeah, but my point, I guess, is that he was saying we need to entertain more so than be political preachers, right? I
Yes,
think that
exactly.
that's where it's like we need to find that positive middle ground, right? I
Hmm.
mean, you could say it's gray. I mean, it doesn't have to be black or white.
No,
My
no,
point is
no,
that.
and this is what I mean. No, no, no. And see, this is the funny thing about it because I believe that like a full bodied. You know how we're talking about genres earlier about that really encapsulate the
Mm,
human experience. For me, that's like
mm,
a banquet. That is how and I talk about Joseph Campbell as well about how
mm, mm-hmm,
when you have these ingredients that really speak to something just purely quintessentially human across all cultures, and that's like the true
mm,
phenomena. So for me, that's a banquet. And a banquet is like endlessly revisitable, just like Last Guardian,
mm-hmm,
like Star Wars, these
yeah,
things. And see, that's the positive way of embracing universality and providing beautiful, unique, engaging moments, and as you said, camera angles and dialogue moments, and that investment. See that generosity,
mm-hmm,
and then you have like some people like the projects by design, projects by committee, which can sometimes, in the endeavor to please other, see how they both have somehow this twisted, like they have their idea of like this is we're pursuing universality as well, and yet there's no edge, they're taking no risk,
mm-hmm,
and so then they present something which they slap a label of universality on, but which only
mm-hmm,
ends up coming off as safe and mediocre. So it's a
yeah.
nuanced thing, and I think that the Daniel De Leons of the world know the difference, and
Oh yeah,
yeah, and I
yeah,
feel
no.
as though I do as well, for sure, dude.
Yeah, so I loved hearing him say that. I thought that it was amazing. He said we're primarily supposed to entertain, right? Not just preach. And I think that to me, I had to clap, and everyone else did
Ah,
too.
excellent.
And I think that's the majority. I think a lot of people do want to see that. I mean, that
Yeah.
there's room for everybody. I mean, you want to make a film that's specific for one group of people. I think that's fine. I think
Mm.
there's room for everybody to play. I just think
Mm.
we shouldn't be berating people who don't do X, Y, or Z. And I think we should be lifting up those who create truly fantastic art across the board as much as possible, right? So,
Yeah, man.
like I said,
Progress
like
is
this is
through
great.
communication. It's through like creating dialogues, not through shouting people into the void. Which unfortunately, with sometimes witch hunt mentality. Something that the internet sadly is one of the things that all too often it accommodates. Just way too easily the bandwagon effect and.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just love that you're encouraging critical and independent thought about this sort of thing, which can again, and that requires effort. Like to create a dialogue creates effort. It requires effort. There's no cutting corners, and I love that you're encouraging people to develop that willingness to open up dialogues and stuff. That's amazing, man, for sure.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Excellent. Yeah.
Sorry, more questions. So, you have
I do, I
any
do.
other?
Well, now obviously you've led me down the Christopher McQuarrie route. He's making two Mission Impossible movies back to back soon.
I'm so happy.
I know.
I had to
Would
tell
you?
him too. I was like, "You made two of the best action adventure films in a long time." I had to tell him that face to face. I'm like, "Dude, thank you so much for making such spectacular films."
What did he say to that?
Um, oh, he was so humble too. He said, "Oh, thank you
Yeah,
so much. I really appreciate it." And then I was the last person to speak with him afterwards, and I
excellent.
waited to the end. And unfortunately, I haven't heard from him yet. But he asked for my card, and we exchanged. I
You're
gave him
working on
mine.
those movies, man. I'm saying it right now.
But
A boy
no,
for
I wish.
random
I
Australian. No, no, no,
wish.
don't. You have to believe. Listen, you have one random Canberran Australian guy with tattoos, and a almost completely jaded 30-year-old in Canberra right now on a microphone telling you right now you're gonna work on those fucking films, man. It's so happening.
Uh,
Yeah,
I
dude.
hope so, but
I
but
hope
no,
so.
I gave him
Listen
my
to this guy. I
dude.
hope so. It's a
I
no-so
wasn't.
situation. I know so.
No, well, that wasn't my goal. More
Okay.
so to actually be able to. I was bold enough to, or crazy enough to ask him, like, hey, because I didn't realize he's been living over in the UK for a while, so I didn't really do all my research on him. But I thought he was here in LA because he used to be, but he had moved there to the UK. But he was saying that I was asking him if I could just get him coffee and sit down with him for 30 minutes or an hour and just pick his brain and share with him my storyboards and whatnot for the short film for The Last Guardian. And he
Hmm.
was very kind and said, "Well, you went the right route. You didn't go on social media and ask me publicly, and or because I can't even acknowledge it then because so many people try to, and of course I can't do that because then
Nice.
everybody will be asking me for everything." He said, "But give me your information, and if you can wait a while, I'll get in touch with you." So here's
Christopher
hoping if he's
McQuarrie,
listening,
like you've actually spoken
get
about
back in
Last
touch
Guardian
with
with
me.
him. Oh my god, that's such a cool connection.
So I would just love to, because I look at people like him, or I mean, I would feel the same way. I would feel comfortable and desire to say the same thing to any of my heroes, like such as Spielberg or
Hmm.
Nolan. I mean, I look at Christopher and Jonathan Nolan as equals in my book because, they work together so much in all their films and or projects. But usually, it seems that Jonathan's the one who's really writing a lot of it, and
Yeah,
Christopher is then bringing it to life through the direction. Um,
absolutely.
Man, I mean, and Christopher Nolan's vision for films is just I really hold him up there with the greatest directors out there.
Absolutely.
He's just a phenomenally talented, gifted man who I just his story is very encouraging to me too because he's somebody who just decided, hey, I'm going to start making films and I'm just going to use what I have
Excellent.
and do an excellent job and look where he is now. So that's to me it's encouraging to see that it can still be done.
And I do see this, and
um,
I always make sure never to just say things because again, words have power, and I wouldn't be saying this if I didn't genuinely believe it, man. From what you've told me, from the passion you have, from that kind of bravado that you have with going to these things, sending these emails, again, you're pulled towards this. I absolutely see you working with the guy at some point because he's in it for the long game. Like he's like, as long as there is film, I shall make film. This is
I love it.
the wonderful Nolan, and so the Macquaries, the Nolans, and yeah, dude, that's who I see you working with, man. And
Oh, thank
I
you.
feel very honored actually to get to chat about this sort of stuff with you. And you gotta come back on the show. You gotta. What
Of
do you
course.
reckon, man?
Oh, absolutely. I
Excellent.
love to. I'm honored you have.
Oh,
So
dude,
thank you.
for sure, awesome. Well, I have a couple of sort of really rapid fire ones, and then
Let's
just
go.
to tail off things. So most important and like the pillar of who you follow and who you resonate with most in any creative medium. Go, and it can be people we've talked about already if you want.
Oh man, it's hard to pick just one.
I know.
Man, it would. I mean, I'd have to put like honestly, I'm okay. If I had to pick one, I guess it would be Michael Crichton.
Ah,
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Wow, great
my,
pick. That
like,
guy.
yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. Talk about, a unique author. Fantastic.
Oh, sorry, you cut out there. Say again.
Oh, I was just talk about someone who was like, "Hey, I'm just going to approach this completely unique new idea." And obviously, there's some shared
Yeah,
DNA between Jurassic Park and Westworld, but and
yeah.
as you said,
It's from his mind. Yeah.
yeah, and you're such an obviously well-spoken, intelligent person. I can see, with him, he absolutely married the two so perfectly.
Mhm.
That he even I think saw it as a responsibility for entertainment to be a carrier of education in many ways
Mhm.
because with the ritual of sitting down by the fireplace, our guards are down, whereas in the classroom, sometimes our guards are up and we're ready to just debunk things and not pay attention. This is James Cameron.
Yeah.
He said, if I made a documentary about the Amazon, no one would have watched it. But
Hmm.
I made this thing coated in sci-fi. People's walls were down, and then because we are a storytelling, again, we're nomads still on the plains. Like evolutionarily, we still that's how we receive lessons in the best way, in that caveman kind of storytelling
Yeah.
visual way. And so yeah,
No, I agree.
I think Michael
Yeah. No.
Crichton totally embodies that. So you say Cintiq, is that your number one tool for doing what you do?
Yeah, actually, shout out to Wacom. I've been using their lately. I'm underpowered right now. I got to get upgrade, but I'm using their Cintiq Companion 2. So it's a full PC with a Cintiq built into it. So it's just a flat one sort of
Awesome.
not even a laptop. It's just a screen, with several buttons on the side and a Bluetooth keyboard and my stylus. That's my go-to
That's a setup.
workhorse right now.
So for the people, checking out the Instagram, and obviously I've got all of Daniel's contact and links in the description of this episode. If you're going there wondering what he works with, there you go. And then obviously you've mentioned a few of the things you're working on, but what's like if you wanted to, you mentioned the How to Train Your Dragon, but is there anything that you can tease people even ahead of that people just go, oh, they have to instantly, obviously they're going to instantly start following you after they probably started following you 5 minutes into the chat. Again, no smoke blowing. It's like super, again, you have this aspect of just eclecticism to you as well, because you see with all the different subjects that you look at, which is very, very kindred to interactive artistry, which, it has those two meanings of being about video games, but also the different forms of artistry interacting with each other. So, so yeah, anything you can tease, totally fine if you can't for like NDA, whatever.
Currently, I'm working with a company that does statues, like large monumental statues. But yeah, I'm not sure I'm allowed to say exactly. It's all I can say is connected to the Wizard of Oz. So I guess I can say that I'm working on the characters for that, and there'll be public statues that people can play on, kids can play on. So look for that'll be installed somewhere.
Amazing.
I'm not
That's
sure
so
where
good. Can you? Okay,
yeah.
petition beginning. I want a freaking Daniel de Leon, freaking lead. Remake. I know Sam Raimi. You gave it. It's cool. I respect you with that. You've got some good stuff under your belt, but I think you could do something amazing with some of the creatures from that world, man. And Narnia. Narnia's going on to Netflix, man. You could totally jump on that.
Oh man, I love.
For sure.
That's awesome. Sorry, the first thing you said, Daniel De Leon. What? You cut out there again.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's bad Discord, but that just even made me think of, we have the Lord of the Rings series, we have a Conan series as well being made. There's a Masters of the Universe going in front of cameras in July, I think, unless they push it back. So, dude, even though it's super competitive, and this is, as we tail things off, I know it gets stressful, but know that you just made at least 1,000 other fans with this interview because, the subs here. Seriously, dude, like, thank you so much for jumping on the show, and I hope I didn't take too much of your day away.
Oh, no, not at all. Thank you. Thank you for the time, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and sorry about the kind of cutoffs. It's pretty amazing technologically to be speaking to you in LA from Canberra. Holy crap. And thank you for the time difference as well.
Oh, sure. No worries, man. Yeah, thank you for making the time. How's your mother about?
Oh yeah,
we weren't able to do this because your mother was
I got attacked by medical stuff. Exactly. She's doing so much better now, and it's just like it's like a back thing. So there you go. And then for me, teeth is like, yay, Caucasians! We have to do things constantly with our teeth because of our freaking ancestors. I hate Ray because Ray she's never had to go to the dentist. I'm like, you perfect Egyptian woman, damn it. Oh boy,
hilarious.
Because I'm basically a peasant over here. Jesus, with everything dental crowding. Actually, Daniel, I'm not gonna end this episode on dental crowding. You need to end this. Let's end this on something nicer. Okay. What's a series? The series you're about. What are you gonna do right now after this?
Probably man. Sleep. What am I gonna do after this? I'm going to actually post those images of the How to Train Your Dragon that I worked on.
I'm so stoked.
Contest.
Oh my god.
And then I'm probably going to watch the last episode of season 2 of Westworld. I'm rewatching it because I was lucky to work on one of the episodes, and I've just been revisiting it as I picked it up on Blu-ray recently, and just seeing how all the artistry comes together is always a pleasure. So to be a part of something you're a fan of is always like a dream come true. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
And you'll have to tell us about that next time you're on, about your Westworld work.
Sure.
Excellent.
I'd be happy to.
Amazing. Well, I leave you to the Ramin Djawadi incredible intro that awaits. I leave you to your wonderful corgi, which I checked out and followed on Instagram.
Thank you.
Fantastic, Daniel. It's been a pleasure and an honor. I think I made a fantastic friend today, and we've got to get you back on the show. Maybe let me know how your early March looks like.
I will. Sounds good.
Excellent. Well, over the airwaves, digital handshake right now, and man, have a fantastic rest of the day.
Oh, thank you very much. You too.
Okay, man. Bye. Hey, buddy, fantastic.
There we go.
The handsomeness goes from from the photos into the voice. You sound fantastic, buddy.
Oh, thank you.
How has the day been, my friend?
It's been busy. I work from home, so it's been a peaceful day, I guess, but just busy. Running around and taking the dog for a walk. I live next to a
Fantastic.
coffee shop, so I get my coffee
If
and I
I
come back
may, if
and
I may
works.
respectfully correct you, you don't mean busy, you mean blissy, which is you work at home, you work from home, man. That is bliss, that is the dream. So I'm sure,
It's not
yeah,
bad.
I'm sure it gets a bit stressy, but otherwise you're living that dream life, and a whole bunch of listeners including myself, actually, are very much on, the quest to live that Daniel life.
Well, don't be too much in that. Be careful what you wish for. I'll put it that way. It's yeah, man. The artist life in LA, especially, it's challenging for sure. I mean, it's very competitive,
Yeah.
and as a freelancer, you always have to be hustling. You always have to be
Hmm.
searching for the next gig. I mean, it's like it's a dichotomy.
It is what it is.
You
That's true.
you yeah, you mean you can look at the pros and the cons, and it's all about what is the end goal, I guess. What is your pursuit? And for me, it's I'm still going, I guess. I think what I do for a living, some people would be happy just doing that for the rest of their time. But for
Absolutely.
me, it's a giant and significant stepping stone to where I really want to be, which is filmmaking.
Yeah.
But to not be beholden to necessarily studios or executives, but to as much as possible, be able to have private investors and funding so that I can create fantastic art that is not, you know, digested into formulaic cliches, which I feel like is all we're seeing right now is just the risk aversion of
Yeah.
filmmakers and the industry just remaking everything and sequels to everything.
It's a bit of
And there's
a
nothing wrong with a sequel if it's very well done, but I just feel like so much creative control is taken away from a lot of the artists when it comes to films, at
hmm.
least that are coming out of Hollywood. Most of it is just terrible.
Oh,
I think
I'm
there's
right there
a
with you
lot of
with that one,
mediocrity.
friend. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just so much mediocrity now, and we don't see the risks and the innovation I think that we saw back in the '80s and the '90s. Like for me, I'm 36.
We're gonna dive
Uh,
right into that, man. That's actually, but let's kick
yeah,
off actually the episode because this is sort of pre-show. So, and a three,
sure,
have
yeah.
a good episode, by the way. And
Thank you.
three, and two, and one.